Hello teachers, today's intern tip is on lesson 104, topic fossils. I will take you through the geological timeline of fossils. Scientists have divided or classified time based on the succession of rock layers, and fossils are found in sedimentary rocks. And those rocks reveal a wondrous history of the past life. Hello class, receiving students and teachers.
Hello, Miss Korua.
Thank you, take your seats. Receiving students and teachers, I hope you are all ready for today's lesson. Go back to what we have learned in our last lesson. In your last lesson, you did an activity on drawing a timeline on strips of papers, and you were told to plot in the events according to the time they have appeared on the timeline. Now let's have a look at what the model class have done. We'll start on that side. We'll see their activities that they have done. From here, you can see 3 groups. Receiving students, you can make your judgments on the work that the model class has done. Some of them, their groups came up with very neat work, and you can easily, some of them made mistakes. However, they corrected their mistakes but looked a bit untidy. So you can see this is one group. That's another group on that side. And the papers are placed, some of them started with the recent years, meaning from 0 million years to 5,000 million years. Others started with 5,000, the past to present. So if you can see here, this group started from the present down to the past. Whereas this group here started from the past, formation of the earth, all the way down to present. This group started from the present down to the past. These are the events that took place in this number of years, millions of years ago. Right? Let's have a look at the other group that came up with another idea. Okay, they decided to place their strip sideways from one corner to another, and they've drawn arrows to the specific parts where these events took place. Next group decided to have small scales in the middle, which was good, and they placed their events. And the last group also did a neat work with the arrows pointing to the certain different events that living things existed long time in. So receiving students, I hope you have done the same as the model class. For the model class, thank you to those groups that have made, or you have put a lot of effort into doing your charts up. Now, I'd like you to, let's all refer to our question that we're supposed to do as homework. For your model class, you have your workbooks with you, and this question is written in your workbook, if you can refer to that question. From all the charts that you have seen, or the timeline, what can you say about the timeline? Or how is it different from the prehistoric age, and you compare that to the present age? Let's go back to the timeline. You see that most of the events are packed together in one side. What can you say about that? Receiving students, tell your teacher. Model class, you can discuss with the person sitting next to you, or you in your groups. you can see that all the events on the timeline are almost together at one part compared to the time the earth was formed. So what can you say about that? Kalen, you want to try? Quickly. Clement? Shannon, would you want to try? All right, Donald will give a try. Thank you.
In the past, yes, only few things occurred in that, but in the present, there are many things occurred.
All right. Thank you, Donald, for that answer. What do you think, class? He said in the past, only few things occurred, whereas you come down the timeline towards the present, many things occurred. Do you agree, class? Yes, that should be the most common answer for every one of you, but you can put it in your own words. But you see that here, this timeline plus this timeline and the next one, you can see all arrows are pointing here, close to each other. That really shows that all these events were taking place one after the other, close to each other, and compared to the past where we had few events only taking place, right? So life began era, which is the Cenozoic era. Is that right? Cenozoic is the most recent era. Precambrian is not the recent, but the first era. Right, let's go on to some more pictures just to recap. Then we have the trilobites, first fish, then the early plants that were on the land were mostly ferns. Then from the water, creatures from the water moved up to the land, and we have the first reptiles. And after the end of Permian mass extinction, that is when most of the animals died, we had the dinosaurs age. They appeared around 240 million years and died 65 million years ago. Right? So those are just few pictures showing you on the main events that took place on how living things came out to be in the past. Right, same strand and substrand for today's lesson. So as the outcome and the unit title. Class, our topic for today is on, let's read the topic together. Again, fossils. Have you come across that word? All right, good. If you have from your books, let's have a look at the definition of this word fossils. What are fossils? Receiving students, tell your teacher, model class if you can. The history of the earth started from the record of fossils found in rocks. Okay. So what are fossils? We wouldn't know about all these events that took place on our timeline. We wouldn't know about them, but through the evidence of fossils, we are able to find out which living things appeared or lived in the past. So what are fossils? Receiving students, tell your teacher model class. Anyone's got the definition already? Good, I can see you discussing with your group members, talking. You will get there with the definition. Right, I will show you another picture just to give you a clue. This picture shows fossils. What are fossils? Clement? Give a try, Clement.
Fossils are footprints of animal or print of animal.
Very good. Okay, thank you. I'll accept that. That's one part of the answer. Thank you. All right, let's have a look at the definition. This is what I have, and I'd like you to write the definition down in your exercise books. Fossils are remains of once living things or living things that lived in the past, or the traces like what Clement has said. Footprints is an example of trace or their tracks. They made preserved naturally, meaning it was not preserved by man, but they were preserved naturally. All right, receiving students, I hope you have that definition copied down, or if your teacher has another one much shorter than mine, good. You all should have the definition copied into your exercise book. All right, like I have mentioned earlier, I said the history of the earth, no one was there when the earth was formed. Is that right? Yes. And nobody knows what had happened. However, we have evidence of these things called fossils that scientists studied and came up with the estimation of how living things were like in the past and the formation of the earth. Right. Let's look at the types of fossils. I'd like you to copy the types of fossils that are found. One is the body fossils. Body fossils refers to remains of plants and animals. Example, shells, teeth, bones, or leaves. And these are found in sedimentary rocks. The next type of fossil, trace fossils. Traces left behind by organisms, example, footprints, nests. Drop-ins simply refers to the excreta or other things that they have dropped. All right, I hope you all have copied the two types of fossils. Number one is the body fossils. Number two, trace fossils. And the examples of body fossils and trace fossils. Okay, all these fossils, the two types of fossils, they provide evidence of the past or evidence of the past forms of life. But you cannot actually see them. Maybe if you go up to grade 8, you will learn more about how fossils are formed. For example, if this is, let's use this magnet as an example. If this is, let's say, a shell, okay, it's new and it stays. I'm just trying to explain how fossils are formed, okay? Once the other soft parts, example, the body of the shell, the animal inside the shell, the body is soft, so it will rot away, right? And decay and get mixed up in the soil. Whereas the shell will remain because it's very hard, and sand, soil, and other things will build upon that shell. Will go on top of the shell, and eventually it will be crushed into the ground, and it will now form as a sediment. It will form as a sedimentary rock, leaving its shape, just its shape on the rock. So when they see the shape like this, when scientists go and start digging the soil or digging the earth's crust to do their studies, anthropologists are scientists that study about the past and study fossils. Not anthropologists. Yes, anthropologists. And then, as soon as they dig, they find rocks, and in the rocks they see shapes of maybe shells or leaves, and all these things. Now, they won't actually see it as it was before, but just its shape. And that's where it's called its cast, and that's where they try to trace back how life was like in the past using those remains of fossils. All right, now let's go on to our activity. Class, your activity is in your workbook. What page is it? Tell me, please. 33 and 34. Page 33 and 34. All right, I'd like you to read the instructions together. Let's read the instructions together. Together in class. All right, I'll read it to you, please. Here are some examples of fossils. Label whether each of the fossils are body or a trace fossils. Now, you have copied the definition of trace and body fossils, and you have listed some examples. I've given you some examples. These are more examples of body and trace fossils. For the receiving students who do not have your workbooks, the pictures are there for you on the screen. You are to write either body fossils for A or trace fossil for the two pictures. Here we have a fossil of a cricket in the sandstone, trapped in the sandstone. It's not the cricket itself, but its shape. And worm burrows, okay? So what do you think? Which one is a body fossil and which one is a trace fossil. In your workbook, you will write that down. Discuss with the students sitting next to you. I'll give you only less than a minute and we will move on to the next pictures. Students with workbook, if you have finished, you move on to the next pictures. Okay, cricket is an insect that you find in the night or sometimes during the day. All right, let's move on to the next set of pictures. Let us see dinosaur's track. Is it a trace? Is it trace or body? Don't tell me, write it down. And we have fossil of a bat. Finish? You don't have a book. You have to share with someone next to you. All right, let's move on to the next set of pictures. Letter E, fossilized tree stump in original place. And fossilized dinosaurs' feces. Feces, another word for feces is excreta. Or you can say drop-ins. All right, the next set of pictures, which are the last two pictures of this activity. Dinosaurs' footprints and a fossil of a leaf. Okay, the definition of those two words, body and trace fossils, can be found at the back of your workbook. After these pictures, you have some questions to answer. If you have completed the picture, the two pictures up there, letter G and H, you go on to the questions. Question 1 reads, what is the difference between a body fossil and a trace fossil? That should come from your definition. Sorry, not the definition, but the types of fossils. And question number 2, you are to write down some examples again for body fossils and trace fossils. That you would take that away for homework and complete it for question number 2. Question number 2, more examples of body and trace fossils. All right, are we ready now to go through our answers for this activity? Let me see how many of you are still writing. Receiving students, I hope you have done that first activity well. All right, let's go on to the first one. Letter A, Shannon, first hand, second hand, Samuel. Give us your answer for the fossil of a cricket in a sandstone.
Trace fossils. Trace fossils.
Trace fossil, class, you agree? Right? Shannon, good try. What is the answer? Body fossil. Okay. It's a body of an insect, which is the cricket. Okay, Samuel, receiving students, if you have body, good on you. Give yourself a tick. Samuel, letter B.
Trace.
Good. Trace fossil. Kalen, it's not body, but trace. Kalen, letter C, and we'll have one girl. Thank you. That girl in that group, thanks. Kalen, letter D, C.
Trace fossil.
Good. That picture shows the track of dinosaurs that lived long time ago. Next answer, letter D, fossil of a bird. Letter D.
Body fossil.
Very good. Body is correct. Joshua, letter E. And we'll have one girl on this side, that table, to give us.
Trace.
Fossilized tree stump in original place. Do you think it's trace? Body fossil. Thank you, Joshua. Good try. And the last one, Momoru, you and your friend, what have you come up with?
Trace fossils.
Good. The last one should be trace fossil. All right, the question that we still have to answer, what is the difference between a body fossil and a trace fossil? Receiving students from this activity, now tell your teacher what is the difference between those two types of fossils. Let's not think about doing the simple exercises. Let's also try to think about how we can answer hard questions or questions that are not too difficult, but how we can put them in words. Come on, quickly. All right, let's hear from this group here. Thank you.
The difference between the body fossils, the body fossils remain of plants and animals, and the trace fossils are left behind by organisms.
All right, good. Thank you. She wanted to put it simple. Body fossils, remains of plants and animals. That's how she can put it. Whereas trace fossils are just remains of organisms that leave behind their traces. Okay. So if you have something similar to what Polycelia has given to us, good on you, model receiving students. I hope you have the same as has. Now, we don't have a summary for today's lesson. The summary has been given to you as note form, and you have copied it down into your exercise books, and that's your summary for today's lesson. Now let's see the keyword for today, class, if you can guess. Good on you. Our keyword for today is fossils. All right, we still have 2 more last pictures to correct. I'll correct that after this lesson. And receiving students, your teacher can do that also. Our next lesson, why is the Earth's surface changing? And our materials for the next day's lesson, watering cans, and your watering can must have 10 holes, like what I have on the screen. You must bring garden soil, you must bring 2 trays, 2-inch nails, and a bucket of water. We are going to carry out an experiment in our next lesson. With that, thank you class for your participation.